So it's an anomaly, I feel. It will even out. They're still going to be great assets, but they're not going to score at this pace the entire season.
Can't keep this up, huh?
Famous last words. Famous last words. I mean, they're not going to get double-digit hauls every single week, man.
Oh, I'm just going to cut all these quotes. Keep going.
Oh, this is the thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. My name is Siva. I'm joined by Sam. Game week 4, Sam. But, we don't like to talk so much about what's going on in our lives and our teams. And I really don't like it when people start off like that. So let's not talk about my amazing game week 3. Let's not talk about my...
Just tell us how many points you got. Don't need to tell how and how many points each player scored. Just tell us how many points you got, and we'll leave it at that.
I mean, 98 points, Sam. I don't want to say that I told you so. Say that going for a wildcard 1 week ahead of international break, even though everyone said you shouldn't do that. I don't want to say that I was right about all those things. I mean, I was right. And I'm now way ahead of all the people who tried to wildcard without Haaland. I'm ahead of the people who, like you, Sam, thought they could get away without one of Salah, Haaland. Basically, I've accepted that I could win FPL this season. So enough about me, Sam. Let's talk about you.
I'm rooting for you, Siva. Sorry. I'm rooting for you, Siva. I hope you win, and at least we can tell people that at least one half of this pod is good at FPL.
Hey. I mean, 35 weeks to go and all that. But I am very happy. And I suppose this, because you're on wildcard this week, right, Sam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so with your wildcard active, I suppose this is a really fascinating question about... I went for the Salah and Haaland thing very early. We talked about it in the last episode, right? Because I wanted to afford a team with both of them. But a lot of people who are listening are on wildcard this week because people did want to wait for the break. So tell me about, how does that make you feel? Like, are you off the doubles Haaland Salah thing? Do you think it's now too expensive if you didn't have them at the start? Or do you think it's still possible to build a team with the both of them?
I think it's still possible. It's still possible. There do seem to be some gems here and there that you can unearth cheap gems. So I think it's possible, but definitely you have to make some sacrifices because I think you'll probably be like 0.5 lower in value compared to if you did it like when you did it, Because it's not only Haaland and Salah who went up, the enablers have gone up as well. So 0.1 here, 0.1 there. Yeah. Possible, but harder, definitely.
Harder. Let's talk about some of these enablers, right, as we go along, because we've got some data that we've stolen/borrowed from Reddit, which I thought might be interesting. It's only 3 weeks, right? But there's one of the things we have up on screen now is attack positioning, which I thought it's kind of a cheat code if you don't watch games, but although of course we do. But for those who haven't, you'll look at this chart, and this is for defenders. Who's at the top of the chart, Sam, by a massive mile? It's not a premium defender.
There has to be some kind of glitch or wrong data or something, man. I don't believe
man, that's just facts. That's Rico Lewis. That's Rico Lewis basically turning into, I don't know, Kevin De Bruyne, but for 4.6 million.
Yeah. Let's see his attacking positioning from the bench in the next game.
Okay, but it could be because we are recording this on Tuesday and England are due to play Finland tonight, and apparently Rico Lewis is starting, so I'm sure Pep will reward him appropriately over the weekend. But something, just cute for you to go, sort of look at this data. I think moving on to midfielders, and as you can see, some interesting names here. Of course, you see the usual suspects, right? This is attack positioning for mids and forwards. Salah's near the top. Haaland's doing quite well. Jota, Diaz. But then some people who maybe we're not giving enough respect to. Johan Wissa, Nicholas Jackson, Antoine Semenyo, Marcus Tavernier.
Semenyo, we've gave respect to Semenyo, I think, in this pod.
I mean, we have, but people who listen to Andy and all the other template, boring template people who have Bruno, Eze, Nkunku, the same line, same 11 players. No offense to all other
Thomas Suchek, very high up, surprisingly.
There you go. So
Brandon Johnson as well, although not very high XG, but lots of touches.
yeah, and so maybe, of course, yes, enablers have risen in price. The menu is up to 5.6. Morgan Rogers has gone up, but maybe to your point, Sam, maybe there are more people out there. We just need to open our minds. You don't need to have Alexander Isak if you could have Nicholas Jackson.
Yes, I guess so.
Sound of all remaining listeners turning off the phones and watching.
But to be fair, lots of people are selling Isak this week. We'll probably get to that later on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Isak spoke about it. He had an interview yesterday for Swedish TV, and he said, I hope people sell me because I'm going to score 2 goals against Wolves. But then he also did say, if you play FPL, you must own Haaland. So, I mean, I think he recognizes.
There's some Scandinavian Nordic connection there. That's all.
There must be, right? And speaking of Haaland and a lot of stuff about wildcards, I mean, I'm guessing you're facing the same issue. Is that I see a lot of people say he can't keep this up. There's no way he can score this many goals forever. If he keeps scoring, he'll score 80 goals this season, which will never happen. So therefore, he's due some sort of regression, right? And we've got a chart here, most productive players in Premier League history. I thought this is really cool. I saw this on Twitter this week. And Haaland's not even on this chart. That's how bad he is, Sam.
As in, he's so high that you can't even see him.
I mean, yeah, that's the point. For those who are watching this video, if you look at this at first glance, like, oh, Haaland didn't even make it. He's so far ahead of anybody. He's basically scoring a goal a game. He's scoring more than a goal a game. He's got like 70 goals in 69 games at this stage.
Yep.
So my question to someone like you, Sam, and perhaps to everybody in general, is why can't he keep this up? What if he keeps doing this? What if he, maybe not a hat-trick every week, but what if he keeps scoring a goal every week? Are you prepared to go without him?
Well, the logical answer would be you should try to fit Haaland in your team because he'll probably be the highest scoring player this year. That would be the logical answer. That's why he's not in my wildcard team. So
I was waiting for the illogical part. But it also comes back to that. Because I know, Sam, you're not the only one. And a lot of people don't want to have him on wildcard because he's still really expensive. And this is kind of a popular thing to still try and go against him. And to be fair, I think Salah keeping pace has made everyone feel confident. Oh, I can still try and do this without him. Some people are still getting green arrows without Haaland if you get your captains right. But that's something that's so hard to do. We spoke about it last week, right? When you try and captain other guys. So a lot of people went for Saka last week. And yes, unlucky, red card, Brighton and all that.
I went for
Wissa. There you go. Yeah. Fair play to you.
Which worked for about 2 hours until the City game came on. Yeah. And the Liverpool game came on. But the point, I guess, is that yes, you can try to get lucky that your non-Haaland captain will outscore him, but 7 times out of 10, Haaland will outscore the other guy. So it's a tough game to play, but it's more fun. That's my point. The proper way to play FPL is to get Haaland in because he will by far be the best player. Now, whether you want to double up Haaland and Salah, that's a different story. Like that one, I think is still debatable, but logically you should try and get Haaland in. I'm just I decided at the start of the season, Siva, that I'm gonna try a whole season without Haaland, no matter what, and I'm gonna stick to it just for fun, I guess. Makes things more fun.
I don't know, Sam. I feel points are fun. Let's talk about. Okay, so in your your decision not to go Haaland, I guess is largely also going to have to mean you have to address captaincy, right? And so we've got a chart on the screen, which I did some very basic work here, just sort of setting out who would be the most common captains. And again, this is, I guess, if you're not going to go with Haaland, now's the time to sell because yes, Brentford this week, but then Arsenal, Newcastle 5 and 6. So that's the hard fixtures, so to speak.
If you have Haaland, why would you sell him? Like, that's illogical. If you went without Haaland the whole time, there's still an argument that, okay, you want to try and make this right, and you're confident that over a course of 10 games, yes, the first 3 games didn't work out the way you planned it, but over the course of 10 games, the savings that you made from Haaland poured into the rest of your squad will prove worth having it. That's the argument, I guess. But if you really have Haaland, to take him out now, that's crazy.
I'm pretty sure there are some people doing this. I mean, to your point, right? There are some people who are not going to go with him this week. There are some people who didn't have him to begin with who are going to keep holding on, just like you. And that's not
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to be different. Like, these people feel like they've done the math and they can work it out. So I guess my question to those people is, are you comfortable sort of moving captaincy around every week? Because as you can see on this chart, right, you got a captain Salah maybe in 4 and 5 if you don't have Haaland. You probably have to go with Saka 6 and 7. And I mean, at some point, Haaland's going to score another hat trick in this run, right?
Yep, that's
and,
for sure.
And even you, Sam, surely at game week 8,
that gaming 9 home game against Southampton looks and smell like a hat trick, 4 goals maybe.
Yes, I mean, even you, Sam, right? I mean, I know you want to make it fun, but surely the logical approach, even if we try to take your starting point, which is you can get a better team without Haaland, you can have an amazing midfield, Palmer, Saka, Salah, all those people, is that maybe in game week 8 you flip it and maybe you sell Salah ahead of Chelsea and Arsenal, and you sell Palmer, and then you get Haaland back in. Surely that is probably if you're going to try and do this thing where you rotate premiums.
Yeah.
Is that a more viable way?
Yeah, that would be the proper way, I would say. But that's just that would be a pure fixture play, I guess. You're hoping that with their favorable next 3 fixtures over Haaland, that they can outscore him, and then you switch it back. Yeah, it's a possible option, but I would say it's a high risk. It's a high risk option. Higher ceiling for points, definitely. But if it doesn't go well, then you're kind of screwed. So.
I guess, let me try and put it to you another way. Would you rather swap your premiums, or would you rather spend transfers on swapping your budget guys? Because I think you kind of have to choose. You can't really do both. I don't think you'll have enough transfers, no matter how much you've rolled, to do this premium hokey as well as moving your Morgan Rogers to Yakuba Minte and your Smith Rose to Semenyo's. Like, you're going to have to pick what's your priority here. So what do you think is more important?
That's a good point. I guess the optimal way to play FPL would be to just keep Haaland in. Switching captains, switching premiums generally doesn't really work out like you plan. And I think the appeal of premiums themselves is that they are kind of fixture proof. Right? You're paying that much because Haaland can back against anyone. So that's why. But like I said, it's a very risky move. I would, you have a higher chance of it not working out than it working out. But if it does work out, then you're ahead of the Haaland captainess, and people have Haaland. So
I feel like Haaland and Salah, again, this is recency bias or whatever you want to call it, but I feel Haaland and Salah look like they have started on a slightly different level compared to the rest of these guys we're looking at. And so I think for them, the fixture proof argument applies. Whereas, so Havertz and Saka both, you would have seen the news today, have lost Odegaard, right? Arsenal have lost Odegaard to injury. Looks like he'll miss Spurs, probably misses City. That immediately makes me feel far less confident in either Havertz or Saka for the next 2 weeks. It's already tough fixtures, but I feel like they're not going to be fixture proof for that run. Cole Palmer, I don't know. Cole Palmer, you tell me, because I was not impressed by Chelsea against Palace.
Yeah, but Palmer, he still has his thing, right? Just like the whole of last season, I was not impressed by Chelsea at all. But Palmer was basically fixture proof, scoring and assisting whenever he wants. And he's not in their Europe squad, so it's fresh every game for the Premier League, I guess.
But would you ever feel, okay, maybe I'm sort of bringing back his old price tag, but would you ever feel comfortable captaining Palmer in any of these weeks?
I think if you look at it individually, right, in a vacuum, Palmer is definitely captainable. Home fixture against Brighton, Forest, that game week 6, game week 7, yeah, it is captainable if you look at him at a vacuum. Now, is he the best captain if you compare to Saka and Kai, who have more favorable fixtures, or Salah and Haaland? Then that's a different story.
Yeah, that's my thing.
He's still a captainable asset. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, but he's never. I mean, this is game week 4 to 12 we have on the screen. I don't think in any of these weeks, maybe 12, And even then, it's debatable. I'd say Salah's a clearer captain. I don't think I want to captain this guy between 4 to 12.
Yep. Fair, I think. I would
So
captain
then
Salah, 4, 5, 6 even, maybe.
Yeah. So then begs the question, why do you have Cole Palmer? I mean, you're spending 10.6.
You still have points. I mean, that's the same argument like if you have Haaland and Salah, why are you spending
Yeah,
so
but-
much if you're not going to captain him?
But I feel like those are the best two captaincy. Like Palmer doesn't crack the top two in any of these weeks except for maybe game week 12. Like you could just get Nicholas Jackson if you're going to do this. You still get some goals. Jackson has what, 2 goals, 1 assist.
I don't know. Maybe it's recency bias from you because, I mean, he has been performing well. He has how many points this year? He was only blanked in the first game week, returned. Second week was a big haul.
Triple assist, yeah.
But it's just, I think Haaland and Salah has warped our perception of what a good asset is now. Purely because of the start they made. And who could have predicted it? Because they are both on how many? 41 points, am I right? Right? Which is the most any player has ever scored in FPL in the first 3 weeks. So it's an anomaly, I feel. It will even out. They're still going to be great assets, but they're not going to score at this pace the entire season.
Can't keep this up, huh?
Famous last words. I mean, they're not going to get double-digit hauls every single week, man.
Oh, I'm just going to cut all these quotes. Keep going.
But yeah. So, I mean, as they regress a bit, as is expected statistically, then they'll come closer to what Palmer and Saka have been. I mean, people are transferring out Saka because they've been disappointed with his points, and he's been scoring. So I think our perception of how many points a player should get in 3 weeks have been totally skewed by Haaland and Salah's start.
Okay. Very reasonable take, Sam. I must say, it's. I think if roles have come full circle here, I'm the one who's.
No, I mean it's okay if you want to fit both of them in, but I think it's also okay to go without one and try and spread the funds around. Because Palmer itself is already like 2 mil cheaper than Salah, and 2 mil can go a long way in your defense or upgrading your 5.0 Morgan Rogers to a 7.0 or someone.
Okay, fair enough. I included Son just for argument's sake, but as I included him, I just thought, I don't even want Son. Like I had him for those first 2 weeks. I was happy to get the haul against Everton, but I sold him immediately, and I think not going to look back. I thought Spurs were bad against Newcastle, and Son's just not. He's not worth 10 mil.
Yeah, I think Spurs just as a whole doesn't really look as impressive as his points would suggest, I guess.
It feels like they've just carried on where they left off last season. Some good moments, but then one pass through the defense and then it all just falls apart. Doesn't seem like they progressed in any way.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. So as we gear up to your wildcard reveal, Sam, because obviously at the end of this, we're going to show your mind-blowing wildcard. So stay tuned for that. Like this will change everything. So let's talk about fixtures so we can try and figure out where you got to on your wildcard. I guess biggest target here for you is what? I don't know, Brighton, maybe?
Yeah. I think in the immediate next 2 games, no team has it better than Brighton, that's for sure. 2 home games against Ipswich against Forest. Doesn't get any better than that.
So which Brighton assets? Are we talking Welbeck, Pedro, Minte?
I have stats from FPL. So the Brighton player with the most goal involvement is Mitoma, who is in my team. I went for Mitoma. Very well balanced. 1.0 XG, 1.0 XA. Gives you a nice 2.0 goal involvement. 1 goal and assist already so far. So everything works out well, right? 1 XG, 1 goal, 1 XA, 1 assist. Balance as all things should be. Now Minte is not that far behind, and he's 1 whole mil cheaper. So if you are inclined to go that way, and there's been a lot of talk on how they are weak on his side, right? Because Leif Davis is very attacking, so they tend to leave space there. Space that Minte can very well exploit. So he's not that far behind, only 1.8 expected goal involvement, which is really good. More XA than XG though, which is why I went for Mitoma, I think. Just I feel Mitoma has a higher ceiling and possibly more nailed to play throughout the whole match, I think.
Fair.
And then behind him, you have Welbeck, you have João Pedro. Welbeck's at 1.6, and João Pedro is down at 1. So those are the 4 options I think you look for in the team. I'm really happy with Mitoma. I think it's a big differential as well. Not many people have gone Mitoma, so I'm happy with Mitoma.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just can't make the. I mean, especially people want to have both Haaland and Salah, so that's your benefit. If you're going to go without one of the premiums, you can afford Mitoma over Minte. Talk to me about Welbeck and Pedro, because I went Pedro just okay. That I must say, I sort of went with the template pick. Right, he's boring. He's on pens, but he does play really deep. And obviously, if you're going in this week, he's in the Brazil squad, late call up, which is really annoying. So I guess if you're on wildcard this week, do you not gamble with Welbeck?
I think it's a really tough decision, because Welbeck has shown, the good thing about Welbeck is we have loads of data from his past seasons, and he's shown that he can't keep this. He can't keep scoring like this. He'll be good in batches, but he's not going to score 10 goals. I think he's never scored more than 12 goals in a season or something like that, right? Maybe lower. I can't remember what's the stat. So I guess João Pedro would be a safer pick long term, mostly because of pens, And if I'm not mistaken, last week he played 90 minutes. So his play seems even more secure than it should be. Of course, this week in particular, he is a risk. May come on late, may not play at all, may start. We don't know. But over a long term, I think João Pedro would be the better pick over Welbeck. So if I were to wildcard and I wanted Brighton's forward, I would still go João Pedro and just take the risk. He might come on in the last 20 minutes, which is possible that he can still score, coming on. And just take the so-called hit this week, I guess. Take the uncertainty, but then be secured for the next few weeks. I think in that price bracket, there are no other forwards better than both of them. And I would pick Pedro over Welbeck in the long term, like over a season.
I think your kid heard you shit talking Danny Welbeck and said, no, this has got to stop, man. I mean, United legend, Arsenal legend, Danny Welbeck. Although I did check, you are right.
Brighton
He's
legend,
never Brighton legend. He's never scored 10 goals in a season. That's crazy because he's so injury prone. His highest are 9, 3 times with United. But one thing about Welbeck, and you talked about price ranges, why not just have both on wildcard? I know, yes, it sounds crazy, double Brighton attack. Why? But they're both 5.7. You have no decent forwards under 6. You barely have any decent forwards above 6, right? People have Adam Armstrong. Okay, Chris Wood being the exception. Chris Wood, obviously, world-class player. Surpassing all expectations. I suppose if you can bench Chris Wood, then Chris Wood is the guy to have in wildcard because Forest fixtures still look great, right? And yeah, first choice. But yeah, why not just have Welbeck and Pedro run with it for a few weeks? Good fixtures. What's the big deal here? 5.7 million rather than people like you, Sam. I know you're going to be cheap and put a 4.5 million forward on your bench who's never going to play.
Yep.
And so you're exactly. And so you're one injury away from being in trouble. Why not 1.2 million? Don't tell me you don't have 1.2 million.
Yeah. Are you saying to play one and bench one?
No, just have both. For these next two, play both. And at the end of that process,
play with a 3-4-3.
Yeah, because what I feel about Welbeck is we are doing that classic thing of you and I, we have seen Welbeck, we know who Welbeck is, therefore we're not going to go for him because we know too much. But I spoke to my my brother-in-law is the most casual person that's ever lived. And I talked to him, I got Welbeck. He's scoring points, right? So I got Welbeck. And the average FPL dude is just going to be like, this dude scoring goals, he's getting minutes. Welbeck played, almost 90 minutes in game week 2? He's not fluking these goals. So, and he's 5.7. I mean, when it goes wrong, you don't care because there's nobody at his price who's doing this anyway. So just have him and treat him as your 8th attacker.
It's possible. I guess the argument then would be: would you go for a 5.567 midfielder versus a Welbeck? So it's ESR and play 3-5-2 versus Welbeck and play 3-4-3. Kind of
Exactly.
that's the argument,
And
right?
we're talking about how brittle Welbeck is. I mean, no offense, I love Smith Rowe, but I mean, all these Arsenal players are made of glass anyway. So if it's between Welbeck and Smith Rowe, surely Welbeck is comparable, no?
Maybe. I guess most people are just kind of worried about having two players from the same team who are not, if they're not a big team.
But that's not how you should think about these things, right? It's not about they're individually decent assets on their own. You don't care whether you have two of the same team.
Fair. I appreciate your point, Siva. It just feels wrong to have both of them. It just feels so wrong, but perhaps so wrong that it's right.
And I think, once again, I think this is a classic case of people have never watched Brighton this season. Danny Welbeck is playing number 9. João Pedro is playing number 10. If this were any other team, you'd be talking about the forward. But because we are all FPL people who have played for so many years, we know who Welbeck is. We're like, I'm never going to own Danny Welbeck. I would never go near him. And I don't think that's... I think that is not how you look at this. You're bringing your past bias into it.
Yeah, maybe. Which is why I went Mitoma over all of them. I don't trust other guys. I trust Mitoma. Got Japan jersey on for him today.
Oh, fair. Okay. Okay, so speaking of less templatey picks, I want to try and put something crazy to you, Sam, because I feel like no one's taking me seriously on this. So maybe I can try and convince you, because I'm in the market for a forward, and I've been looking at somebody who has scored during the international break. He plays a promoted team this week, very leaky defense. He's nailed to start. Very good on XG. Like, I think he had 0.8 XG last in game week 3. I like him. Affordable. All the good things that I want.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So who am I talking about?
Can you give me a Joshua Zirkzee?
Yeah, Joshua Zirkzee. So I don't get why. I feel like all the pushback on Joshua Zirkzee is because, again, too many content creators, all United fans, and so they bring in all this. Oh, this is the worst club ever because you all lost the game, which you were always going to lose anyway.
Mm-hmm. Which, to be fair, I'm going to push a little bit of United agenda here, but I felt that the score line was worse than how it looked. Because we had
totally
chances.
agree.
We just did not have Salah at the end of those chances. We had Rashford.
Yeah, you had Zirkzee.
And Zirkzee, yeah. Which comes back to my point. I mean, he did really well over the international break. I'm cautiously optimistic for United's prospects over the next few weeks. But I feel the best United asset to have, which I already said last week, Siva, is Alejandro Garnacho.
Not even nailed, mate. I mean, Zirkzee is safer than this guy.
No. Garnacho will start.
Garnacho.
He's in my team. He's in my wildcard team.
I respect you, Sam, but Garnacho would be lucky to reach Southampton in time for this fixture.
He will play. He's our best attacker. I think Ten Hag can see that now. He's second highest in expected involvement, highest in XG, despite only starting one game, 1.4 XG. So all the stats, all the signs, the eye test, the stats, all points towards Alejandro Garnacho.
I'm so not feeling this. Okay, I'll let you have your Garnacho thing. If his minutes were nailed, I would be more interested. I don't think his minutes are nailed. I don't know why. He seems to like giving Diallo starts and mixing it about with Rashford. But humor me on Zirkzee, because I really feel like people are missing out here. You have a nailed forward 90 minutes against, I think we all agree Southampton is the worst team in the league, right?
Yep.
They've got this kamikaze way of defending where they just pass it around their box until somebody takes it from them and scores. And I think Joshua Zirkzee, yes, he's had misses, but again, we like forwards to get into scoring positions, right? We don't mind if they miss a few chances. He's obviously not had preseason, so he's not sharp. But as you saw in international break, very good improvised finish. I think that's confidence, right? He scores a backwards header, which it seems impressive to me. Southampton, Palace, Spurs, 3 decent enough fixtures if you have to hold 7 mil. What's the big deal here? Why are people so reluctant?
I would rather have other players than Zirkzee.
Name
I think
them.
that's the argument. At 7.0, I would rather have Welbeck and Pedro. I would rather have Wissa despite the bad fixtures.
You don't want Wissa against City, mate. Come on, let's be real.
I don't think Brentford are going to win, but can they score one? Possible against City. Hasn't exactly looked watertight. But I mean, if you're not talking about just this one fixture, you're talking about the next, 5 fixtures or whatever. I just don't have very much confidence in United. But perhaps United bias, you can say that. Sure. But I've said it, I said it last week as well. The only player I see for United that's worth having is Garnacho. I'm just not keen on the rest.
Okay, all right. Talk to me about Bruno, because a lot of people are considering selling Bruno this week for Salah. So how do you feel about that?
I did the same thing on my wildcard, of course. But yeah.
Scored international break. Is he not back?
I think Garnacho is better. If you're gonna have one, that's my argument. I mean, the fixture looks good. I can see points coming from here. I'm not saying he's gonna blank, although he probably will. I'm just saying that I feel Garnacho is a better asset to have. So if you're on wildcard and you have you have the opportunity to shift your funds around, I would take the savings I get by getting Garnacho instead, and then use the extra money somewhere else.
You're going to tell me that the guy who's not nailed to start, who's in Argentina today, is better than the guy who is nailed to start, will play 90 minutes, and is on penalties?
Yeah. Yes, that is what I'm saying, Siva. Take it from a
and
United
you-
fan. And I would think a lot of
no.
United fans would echo this sentiment that Garnacho looks like our most dangerous player and therefore the biggest source of points.
No, I think a lot of United fans want Garnacho to be their most dangerous player because they watch him play and think this guy's so exciting. Why aren't we playing him every game and for 90 minutes? But where it all falls down is your manager's a ball guy who's really boring, and he's not going to play Garnacho every week. He will play Bruno every week. He will keep Bruno on for the most of the game, and Bruno's the guy on penalties. And I'm surprised, Sam, because you had Bruno to start the season. I feel like this is survivor's bias, survivor's trauma, I don't know, PTSD, because you've owned him for his blanks, which we all agree have been unlucky. You are now not going to own him for his points, and I can already picture you coming back in game week 5 to tell me, oh, I sold Bruno just before his 17-point haul.
Yeah, it's possible, although he hasn't really had a big point haul for some time.
Yeah, but surely
even last season, right? I mean, his points have been more spread. He hasn't been the Bruno as when he first came, with a very high ceiling and scoring every game. By the way, Siva, it's not just eye test, okay, or you're not just United wishing. The stats say that Garnacho is our most dangerous player. So he is. Like that. That is the fact. Now, his nailedness is an issue. It's a point of concern. If you don't want to go Garnacho because you're worried that he might not start, then that's a valid point. But don't come and tell me that he's not our most dangerous player. He has the highest, second highest expected goal involvement, but playing a lot less minutes. So if you account for the minutes, then he is, definitely. Well, according to FPRef, if I account for the minutes played, our most dangerous player is Anthony, who created 0.1 XG in 1 minute of play. So his expected goal involvement per minute is through the roof. But below him is Garnacho. So I'll stand by it that Garnacho is the best United asset to have.
Okay. We spent too much time talking about a mid-table team. Let's try and move on. Other teams or wildcard, Sam, I guess, that you are looking at?
Villa is really tricky because they have such a nice run of fixtures, but everyone is kind of traumatized because Bailey hasn't returned, Watkins hasn't returned, Morgan Rogers has not returned. That's it, they're all linked to each other, right? If Watkins has scored, Morgan Rogers will have returned, so we have got an assist. I am half tempted to go for Watkins in this fixture run. Because if you apply that same logic to Bruno, Siva. Oh, he's just been unlucky. It's the same for Watkins, right? Now he's not nailed. I mean, he should be nailed. He came off early in the last game. But I mean, it's Watkins and it's Villa, right? There's no way that he'll be dropped. Probably just still building up fitness. I know you're looking at me just, what, is it because John Duran has scored? Like,
How can Watkins possibly be nailed for the guy who comes on and scores within 10 seconds? I mean,
yeah, but it's Watkins. Come on, I mean, perhaps again, this is past biases. Perhaps. A part of me wants to take that risk because his XG has been great. 1.6 XG. If I'm not mistaken, one of the highest in the league, aside from a few superhumans like Haaland, Salah.
Amongst humans, yeah, sure.
Amongst humans, one of the highest. Although Wissa is doing really well as well. But anyway, still, point is he's getting into good positions. Just has not been scoring. If he gets back to his old self, you could see him scoring quite a lot of points in this, this fixture run. 4 very nice fixtures. Everton, Wolves at home, 1 game away against Ipswich, and then another home game against United, away against Fulham, home game against Bournemouth. Like, those are all very scoreable fixtures.
I like the Watkins pick more than the Garnacho one. I think I can grant you. I think Watkins, as you say, unlucky, and even though his minutes have been bad, this is a good week because Duran is again in Colombia and they come back later. So if Watkins was ever going to get 90, and Watkins didn't go away with England, right? He stayed back. So this is as good a chance as any to try and get 90 minutes. And Everton suck, basically. So yeah, I mean,
it's a good differential, I think, because start of the season, I think a lot of people had Watkins, but most people have sold him already by now.
Yeah, so I don't mind the Watkins move as much. You take it because and I suspect this is a byproduct of you having so much cash. Morgan Rogers is not in your consideration.
Yeah, it's not because I don't need a 5.0 enabler. But if you do, I think he's still the best option in that price range.
Yeah, underlying stats have been poor, but I'm prepared to keep. Obviously, I feel I scored for the under-21s yesterday, 2 goals.
Yeah,
I feel like it's coming. You just want to be patient, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes for Watkins, then it will come for Rogers, right? It's all linked.
So I guess either way, we can't lose. Okay, so Villa aside, I suppose Villa defenders nothing much to talk about. It's either flip a coin between Pau and Konza. You're not going anywhere, Luka Dean, right?
Yeah, even then they haven't really been solid defensively.
Yeah.
So you might want one just for the fixtures and because it's cheap, and maybe just put it on the bench if you have 3 other starting defenders.
Okay, fair. Any other teams worth speaking about?
I think that's it, right? Team-wise, fixture-wise at least.
Eze. Let's talk about Eze for a bit, right? I'd be interested to know if he makes your wildcard team because 6.9 now, so cheaper. And Palace have had a strong end to the window, I feel. Like they've kind of remedied a lot of the issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, Eze was brilliant against Chelsea. So, not tempted?
Tempted, but there are only so few midfield slots, I guess. He would be my, I don't know, 6th or 7th best midfield pick, I would say.
Again, I guess because you've got the budget, right? So you're not tempted by 6.9.
Yeah. Fair. I'll go Garnacho over Eze.
Inexplicable Garnacho.
Love.
Yeah, I just hope Ten Hag feels it as much as you do, mate. In terms of for those who don't have your funds, okay, you really didn't seem sold on Nicholas Jackson, so I won't push that with you.
No. But back to Eze though, I just want to say that if you do have Eze, he is definitely a long-term hold. I know quite a few people sold him after the first 2 weeks, only for him to return. But maybe again, past bias, maybe. But you could also consider history as data, right? And the data has shown that his points are usually spread out over a long period of time. He's not really a streaky player return, like in big points in 5 games or 3 games sort of thing, right? So points will be spread out, but it's definitely a good asset to have. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think if I was going on a wildcard again this week, I'll definitely just have Mbeumo and Eze and just like leave them there. Season keepers, similar prices, on pens, talisman. You don't ever think about it again.
Mbeumo's a tough one because Brentford has really, they have City away this week and then Spurs away as well. So 2 tough away games. So if you're on wildcard, like me, this decision has been really hard for me. Do I just keep Mbeumo despite the 2 tough fixtures to save me from a transfer in later on? Because then they have 2 nice home fixtures. And I think long term Mbeumo is a good pick. It's just, can I do that? The hokey pokey, out in, maybe Mitoma for the next 2 fixtures and then transfer in for Mbeumo, just playing the fixtures kind of thing. Or is it not worth the trouble and then just leaving them there? So that is a debate that I'm having. I still don't have an answer for that, Siva.
I guess also, the consideration is because you got him in at 7. Both of us did, right? And now he's up to 7.1, and that makes a difference. We had 2 questions about Mbeumo, basically, and Thils 798 asking wildcard questions. Basically, do you go Saka and Wissa or Havertz and Mbeumo? I have Havertz and Mbeumo, but I think in view of the Odegaard injury, I'd actually just say drop the Arsenal attackers completely on wildcard. And I actually wouldn't mind getting Mbeumo and Wissa.
Again, interesting, Siva. what's the odd part is they have the exact same fixtures in the next 2.
Yep, true.
So if you take fixture out of the equation, pure points potential,
Brentford guys
Saka
are
and
cheaper.
Wissa? You think so? Yeah. No, if you were set on having one from each team.
I don't know, man. I think you just find the budget and get Saka and Mbeumo.
Saka and Mbeumo? No,
I think you find the
this
budget.
is by the forward slot if they want, Answer the question, Siva. If you had to pick one of the 2 options.
It's very disingenuous because I have Havertz and Wissa, but yeah, obviously today, if you ask me, I'll pick Saka and Mbeumo. Saka and Wissa, for the fact that Saka's role is safer, and even though I think Havertz is much better as a 9, I think the Odegaard injury forces him back into midfield, whereas Saka will still play wherever he plays and will just be a safer pick.
Fair, I think. Plus, Mbeumo has been doing really well stats-wise. Mbeumo. Wissa has been doing really well stats-wise. So,
yeah. And ultimately, no Tony, right? So that helps Wissa so much.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
With a question from Ignatius, finishing up with terms of fixtures. Bowen and a 4.5 defender, or Trent and a 5 million mid? Basically, it's Trent and Rodgers versus Jared Bowen. We didn't even talk about West Ham or Bowen. Does that feel unfair?
Maybe. I think the fixtures has not turned enough yet for us to fully consider. Although Bowen has been quietly doing the business, right? As expected. I think I did shout out Jared Bowen a few weeks back. I predict him to have a really good season. Yeah.
Yeah, scored in Game Week 1.
No, he didn't score in Game Week 1. He scored Game Week 2 and had an assist in Game Week 3. So 2 goal involvements in the past 3 games, and one of them was against City. I think Bowen will be a really good asset to have. He's only 7.5. It's just finding that point to jump in, Where's the nice entry point? Because there are so many other midfielders you can get. For example, we already mentioned Brighton. Next 2 fixtures definitely better than West Ham. So their next 2 fixtures: Fulham away, Chelsea home. Then Brentford away, also a pretty tough fixture. So where is that nice jumping on point? You have to decide that yourself, I guess. But in a vacuum, Jared Bowen, great asset. I would love to have Jared Bowen in my team.
Yeah, so I guess Trent is just a safer pick than a lot of these 7 million mids, right? And probably even, you can even say 8 million mids. But I guess let's wrap up Wildcard Chat about Liverpool, because that's got to be your hardest decision this week. Surely you are tempted. I know logically, a lot of people are saying Trent, Robbo, Salah, safe, boring, you know what you're getting. Liverpool haven't conceded a goal yet, so look really solid. I can see from your eye roll, you're not sold.
I'm not sold on double Liverpool defense, because I think they have been
you're going to say
somewhat lucky to have kept 3 clean sheets back to back. because they have been conceding chances, especially against United. They conceded an XG of 1.3. So they were lucky in that sense that United were just so bad at finishing.
United's a good team, buddy. I mean, surprising to as it may be to United fans. See, again, I feel like you're mentally downgrading this.
Actually, no, United is a good team. They've been playing well. In fact, I think that we played, aside from the mistakes, we played as well as Liverpool. The players were failing at the final, at the final ball. So it's getting the ball to Rashford and seeing what he does versus getting the ball to Salah and seeing what he does. One results in a goal, one results in a missed chance.
But do you not? So fair, right? So United a good team, and therefore XG being put up against Liverpool's right. Whereas now Liverpool play what? Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace. Could probably keep 4 clean sheets back to back.
I don't know. First of all, there's Chris Wood there. I don't see a clean sheet in that match. Now, what I'm saying is that I don't think they are the best defensive team in the league, despite the fact that they're the only one who get 3 clean sheets. Again, very small sample size. How many times in FPL have we seen, Siva, in history that I think he's 3 clean sheets in a row and then proceeds to not get a clean sheet for the next 10? Very possible.
Yeah, but I'd say this time fixtures, right? We're not just banking on them being a good defense per se.
So I will get 1 of Trent and Robo. I think 2, getting both of them is just too much money spending in. Like Robertson is 6, you could get Minte in midfield. I would be fairly confident that Minte can match or maybe has a higher ceiling over the next 2 games in particular,
I like how you lost confidence in that sentence. Halfway through.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm confident Mitoma will as well. Okay, so I will go 2 forwards because I think Liverpool will look much more exciting attacking-wise rather than defensively. So I will go for 2 Liverpool attackers and 1 defender. I really like Diaz, but it does concern me that he's flying back so late and the fact they have capable replacements. So
and the fact that he keeps getting subbed off, no?
Yeah.
Like this man has no respect for hat-trick rules. He just keeps taking him off.
Yeah. So it's been, I think a few people have spoke about the fact that he likes to bring off his wingers. And so far, we've seen that it's true. He does. He really does like to bring off his wingers at 60, 70 minutes. He does seem to be the one, benefiting the most, I guess, from, of course, 2 goals against United. So maybe that skews it a bit. I think there's very little to separate between Jota and Diaz. So I'm happy still keeping Jota in the team. Although if you were inclined to go Diaz, I think it's a good option as well.
Don't give me that wishy-washy answer, mate. Pick one. Gun to your head. You're on Wildcard. No, you're on Wildcard, mate. You got to pick one. So who you going with?
Jota.
Okay. So purely because of Colombia, basically.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Let me bring up the stats and let's see who has been getting more, XG and stuff like that.
Almost dead even. I mean, I've already looked at this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Salah's 1.8 XG, Diaz 1.8, Jota 1.6. So really close, not much to separate between them.
Yeah.
All right. Fair.
I think what helps Jota is his replacement is Darwin Núñez and Diaz's replacement is Gakpo. And I think I know which one I would rather.
Which? Because I don't know.
I think Darwin is definitely not Slot's favorite player. I think the early indications would suggest that.
Okay.
I think Slot wants less chaos and he wants a lot more control.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think he wants a controlled press. He doesn't like this thing where I think Darwin, Bruno, some of these guys like to press without just sort of like hold the R2 button and run around a lot.
Yeah.
Slot's a bit more measured.
Okay. Fair.
Okay. All right. I think we've spent a lot of time. Let's go to the real. I was going to do this like position by position, but life's too short. Let's crack on, right? This is your wildcard team as of yesterday. So presumably this is 10 drafts ago. Already out of date.
Actually, Siva, I've only changed 1 player in my wildcard team.
Okay, let's introduce you for the podcast listeners first. Okay, so you got Raya in goal, Anthony Robinson, Trent, Lewis. In midfield, you got Jota, Salah, Mbeumo, Mitoma, Palmer. Up top, you have Isak and Havertz. Bench of 4.0 keeper, Konsa, Greaves, and a 4.5 forward who no longer plays in the Premier League. So, talk to me.
I still think Raya's worth getting purely a long term because you can do the hokey cokey with your other positions, but keeper is one that I think you just get one that you're happy to leave long term. Raya is the cheapest Arsenal defender that you can get. Arsenal still one of the best defensive teams in the Premier League, maybe the best. So Raya, I don't see Saliba and Gabriel really outscoring him that much. That proves worth the outlay. Trend
and with
question, sorry. Go ahead, Siva.
With the injuries, right, to Rice and Odegaard, I think this just makes Arteta way more defensive. Already, we're quite defensive team. We have 5 centre-backs, 6 centre-backs. He's just going to be more defensive. So I think we discussed this at the start of the season. Arsenal in tough fixtures actually not a bad idea for defense because they will play for 0-0 and take it quite happily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Trent, I don't think you need to explain Trent. Robinson as well, the best 4.5. Is he still 4.5? 4.6 now?
4.6.
Yeah, the best defender to get in that range. 0 clean sheets, but assists every game or something like that. So it's fine. It's fine for 4.5. We talked about Lewis. He has to be in your team, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if people who don't want him, you're scared of one occasional benching, you be my guessmate. But this guy's levels. Pep just gonna keep saying it every week. Best player I've ever seen. Oh my god, he's amazing. Just accept it, man.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're on wildcard, just make sure you have a good bench. So I have Konsa on my bench. So if Lewis really gets dropped, Konsa comes in. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Yeah, so that's the benefit of being on wildcard, I guess. Midfield, again, don't really need to explain Jota, Salah. We already talked about it. Again, already talked about Mitoma. I'm still thinking Mbeumo. So I've changed Mbeumo to Garnacho in my actual one that I have not sent to you. So. But I'm not 100% sold on that because, again, I definitely will want Mbeumo in. So this is just purely a fixture play. Mitoma next to moves to Mbeumo. Do we want to plan in the transfer like that, or should we just leave him in and save those transfers? I'm still debating on that. And the debate will probably go on all the way to deadline. So don't have an answer for you listeners. Same with Palmer as well. With apparently carrying a minor knock. Although fixtures look good, so I probably will still keep Palmer in the team. Havertz is a point of debate as well. So like we discussed earlier with the injury to Odegaard, how much of that will affect. I've seen some talk that he might be moved deeper, Havertz, to accommodate for Odegaard's. Because do you have another player? I think Fabio Vieira is out, who used to be the replacement, right?
Out on loan, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really have an AM to fit to play in Odegaard's position.
Yeah, so I'm a kids, but nobody.
Exactly. I'm a bit put off by Havertz. You can take him out and then again, you're doing the hokey cokey, but then 2 weeks later when they have good fixtures, Odegaard probably will be back by then, hopefully. Rice as well. Then you can bring your Arsenal players back in. Again, you are planning transfers, which I don't necessarily like because things never work out as you plan it when it comes to transfers. But yeah, it's an option. And Isak, I'm happy Isak. I'm keeping Isak. Again, like I mentioned last week, he returns when he's fit. If he's fit, have Isak.
I think Isak I'm fine with. I guess my question to you, and this is, see, you don't have Haaland, but you have Havertz and Palmer. And I suppose a team with Haaland would lose Palmer, probably for Rodgers, and that's where the difference comes. So I guess my question to you is, what do you do now? Because your Havertz position is quite crucial because that's your big differentiating point from a Salah team. What do you do? Because there aren't that many good forwards in this game.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, Watkins is an option, although he's significantly more expensive, so I will have to move some funds around here and there.
You're gonna end up selling Raya.
You could go down. Possibly. You could go down, drop Havertz to Pedro, Welbeck or something like that. It's possible. So I guess the fun thing about not having Haaland is this challenge of, okay, because I don't have Haaland, I need to spread it out how there are many combinations in which I can do it. Whereas if you have Haaland, you're kind of stuck. Like, I need to have Morgan Rogers and that's it. So it does makes it more fun in that sense, you know. I relented and got Salah in because I don't know. I feel like you still can have fun with Salah. There's still enough money going around that I can have this nice debate throughout the week in my head. Should I get this player? This player, is it worth it? Whereas if you're Haaland, your team is kind of stuck. So I'm doing it purely for vibes, Siva. Definitely not the optimal way to play FPL. Listeners, do not follow what I'm doing. Play it properly.
It's not a bad team. I mean, like I said, it's probably just two players off a Haaland Salah optimal team. So, and like you said, you got way more flexibility. So, whereas I have next to no flexibility, my transfer this week is going to be either Minte or Welbeck, and you are picking from the likes of Mitoma and Watkins. So, I mean, there are levels to this.
Yeah, and I guess the idea is that over a longer fixture run, yes, the first 3 fixtures have been a disaster if you went without Haaland. But over the course of 10 games, because you would expect your the likes of Mitoma to outscore Morgan Rogers, especially over a 10-game run, right? So then that's where the idea is that's when you really see the value of going without Haaland. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, all good points. I think we're done, right, Sam?
Yep, I think so. Longer episode than I thought we would, but it's been good, Siva.
Your wildcard was mildly interesting, I must say. I mean, I think it's
mildly.
Mildly, because I mean, it's taking a lot of, let's say, balls basically to activate the biggest chip in the game and still not go with the guy who scores the most points.
Yeah,
debatable.
definitely.
I mean, if he blanks this week, you're in heaven, right? You're just betting on one guy to blank, so you never know.
Yep. In the 3 weeks in a season where he blanks, I'll be in heaven. The other 35.
To be fair, it's not even blanking, right? You're fine if he scores 1 goal. That's all you really want. Just stop scoring hat tricks, basically.
Yeah. Stop doing it every week, Haaland.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think we're done, but we'll see you in time for Game Week 5. But in the meantime, Sam.
Yeah, get your green arrows, guys. Have a good week.